Google just announced the Pixel and Pixel 6 Pro, and this is everything you need to know. So first, the Google Pixel 6, it's going to be a 6.4-inch display at 90 Hertz. It's going to have a 4,500 milliamp hour battery. It's going to have a 50 megapixel main camera with an f1.85 aperture. And then it's also going to have a new ultra wide camera with an f2.2 aperture and 123-degree field of view. Both of these devices are going to have wireless charging, and it seems like their wired charging is going to be capped at 18 watts. Now, the biggest difference in regards to the hardware is that on the Google Pixel 6, that front camera will only be able to record at 1080-30, whereas the Pixel 6 Pro is going to be able to record at 4K. One other camera advantage that the Pixel 6 Pro has over the Google Pixel 6 is that it's going to feature a periscope style refractory camera for the telephoto for a 4x lossless zoom. It's going to be using a 48 megapixel sensor for that. Probably it's going to be using the IMX 586 or 582, one of the IMX Sony sensors in the 48 megapixel variety, because Samsung, I don't think right now, makes a 48 megapixel sensor. Now, both of these cameras have laser autofocus, and they seem to be really, really good cameras, and it is the best camera hardware that Google has ever used in a phone, hands down. And compared to the other camera hardware on the market right now, it's actually competitive. When Google launched their Pixel 2 back in the day, that camera was competitive, and like with it being competitive camera hardware at the time, totally changed the camera industry because it was competitive hardware plus software. Hopefully we'll have the same thing with this. Now, next up, both of these devices are going to be running the Tensor chipset. Both of these devices are going to have the ability to have up to 12 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of UFS 3.1 storage. The Pixel 6 Pro is going to be having a 6.7-inch, 120 hertz OTPL display, meaning that the display can ramp up to 120 hertz or down to 10 hertz, depending upon how you use it, just like the new iPhone. Although I got a feeling that Apple will probably implement this better than Google is going to be. Now, talking about the Tensor chipset really quick, the design of this new SoC is 2 + 2 + 4, meaning 2 high-performance X1 cores plus 2 not high performance but not powerful, like middle performance cores, and then 4 high efficiency cores. And Google said that they did this specifically so that it could run a variety of multitasking, machine learning, and like multiple processes at one time for like a lot of multi-threaded stuff and a lot of stuff going on in the background. Now, they compared it to the overall benchmarking and kind of the performance of the Pixel 5, although no one would really call that a performance device, and it was like 700 times better, whatever. That doesn't really matter. The Google Pixel 5 shipped with a mid-range SoC in the Snapdragon 765G, which is not that much more powerful than the SoC in my Redmi Note 10 Pro, which is a Snapdragon 732G. Realistically, it is more powerful, but it's not like it's comparing the SoC in this device to my, where's my Samsung Galaxy S20 FE? To my Samsung Galaxy S20 FE. Those SoCs in the upper end flagships, way more powerful than the 700 series SoC. So those benchmarks are kind of not worthy of paying really any attention to. The real kind of star of the show of all of this Pixel talk was what they were going to be offering in regards to software. And Google kind of went out of their way with this launch to reiterate and to really bang on the point that the version of Android that these Pixels are going to be running is not AOSP. There is a ton of like a Google skin on top of stock Android, if that makes any sense. Some of the features that they have on these devices are tone mapping in video that comes with part of the Tensor chipset. But Magic Eraser is something that's now going to be on all of the Pixel devices to take stuff like phone lines out of photos, trash out of pictures. We have a lot of trash here in Vietnam. That would be awesome. Machine learning to go ahead and do a fast snapping face mode where it uses the ultra wide camera to take the picture of someone's face, and then it will go ahead and stitch that and tone map it onto the blurrier picture so that you can have a sharp face if the rest of the image is kind of blurry, which is crazy and awesome. And it can do this because of the custom silicone it has and its ability to offload specific tasks. Other stuff that's coming is the new Google Pixel, or the new API in Android 12. And this was something that was launched a while back. If you guys want me to do a whole video on this, I can. But essentially, Google is going to be opening up the APIs for all of the system cameras so that third-party camera companies can take advantage of the machine learning and all of the different camera tweaks and camera software that you have on your phone. Meaning, if you have a Samsung phone, in a year or so after the Android 12 update, you will be able to have the full capabilities of that camera with the software that Samsung implements on that phone. And that's not something that's exclusive to Google. Then Google went into this whole thing about like true tone skin mapping for people of color. I think it's awesome. I absolutely love it. Being someone that uses Xiaomi phones quite a lot, they Asianify my face to make it look more appealing to the Asian market. If I take a picture of my wife with my Xiaomi phone and then take a picture of my wife with my Samsung phone, her skin complexion looks totally different because Xiaomi tunes their colors predominantly for Asian skin tones. Google is doing this, but for Black and brown people, and Google devoted almost a fifth of the time of this presentation to that. And it went, at least as a casual viewer, it went from being, this is a problem, we're doing things to rectify it and make it better, to like, hey, people of color, buy our phone, which kind of made it feel disingenuous. But overall, I still think it's an awesome advancement to have from Google, and it's something that should be rolling out hopefully in non-Pixel devices if you use Google Photos, which I think is great, and I would love to see that. Other stuff that they kind of didn't touch on at all was stuff like charging speed, battery size, like anything like that. Like there's going to be new live translation, there's going to be new stuff in Gboard. Whether or not that comes to other devices, we don't know. Whether or not more of this Material U makes its way to other devices, we don't know. But it really seems like with the Google Pixel, Google is putting a Google skin on AOSP. Okay, what do you think?